Hi, it's Ben. In this video I'm going to talk about foods which are eczema friendly and nutritious, and which you can try to make the cornerstone of your diet with the hope that it will help you to manage your symptoms of eczema. So briefly I'm going to talk about, I'm going to just do an overview again of the foods that eczema sufferers are commonly allergic to eliminate from your diet. And then I'm going to talk quickly about nutrition, and then the foods that we're left with, which are highly nutritious, tend not to cause allergic reactions in eczema sufferers, and then talk about how you can gauge whether or not you're getting adequate nutrition. And then finally I'm going to give a few meal examples, maybe to get you started if you're thinking about changing your diet and think that might help you to manage your symptoms of eczema. Okay, so in the last video we discussed a number of, I sort of listed a number of foods which potentially cause eczema sufferers problems. I'll just go through that list again. So in particular, grains with gluten and foods derived from white flour like bread, pastries, cakes, wheat noodles, pasta, pizza, waffles, crackers, that sort of thing. And dairy products, particularly cow's milk. Foods containing sugar, refined sugar like sweets, flavoured yogurts, processed foods, soft drinks and stimulants like alcohol and caffeine and tobacco, drugs like alcohol. Polyunsaturated vegetable oils like margarine or soy oil, or sunflower oil. Anything that's got additives, colouring, preservatives or other chemicals in. So that's probably most packaged food and foods found in bottles or cans, although not all of them. Soy products like tofu, soy milk and soy proteins. Luncheon meats with additives and added iodized salt or other processed meats. Table salt, that should be replaced with sea salt. And then other grains, it varies between eczema sufferers, but some eczema sufferers have problems with grains. And so that kind of leaves us with a few foods which tend not to be as risky for eczema sufferers, which tend not to cause an allergic reaction as much. Now, it depends on each individual, and in the last video I talked about identifying your allergies and doing an elimination diet and finding out what you're allergic to. So what I say in the rest of this video should apply to you, but there could be exceptions. There might be some food groups which you don't really benefit from, but this video should give you an idea of where to start in terms of a basic diet that can be used as an elimination diet and shouldn't cause, it should help you to manage your symptoms, should reduce itching. So firstly, in terms of nutrition, everyone has basic needs for proteins in the form of, which are derived from amino acids, fatty acids, some carbohydrates, and minerals and vitamins. And our body requires all of those things to build cells properly and function properly, arguably with the exception of carbohydrates, because the body can make glucose from fats or from proteins. But in any event, we need enough nutrients in order to make sure that our bodies are strong and can detoxify properly, have the energy to recover from allergic reactions and to decrease inflammation, as well as repair and rest properly. So, nutrition's vital for the proper functioning of our bodies, and if we're not properly, if we don't have the proper nutrition in our diet, that can create disease and weakness in the body, which can contribute to eczema. The problem with eczema sufferers is that we might be allergic to nutritious foods. but there seem to be a few different foods which most eczema sufferers don't have a problem with. I think that the first one to mention is green vegetables. So leafy green vegetables tend to have sort of low sugar but very high nutrient levels, particularly vitamins and minerals. They also have a lot of fibre, so that allows the body to absorb nutrients slowly. And some good examples are lettuce, spinach and kale, but I mean nearly all green vegetables are highly nutritious, and especially cruciferous vegetables such as cabbage, broccoli and cauliflower are also sulfur rich, which assists with detoxification in the body. And seaweeds are also good as they contain iodine. So unless you have an allergy test and you find that you're allergic to oxalates, then green vegetables tend to be a safe food, and they're also highly nourishing. So if you can, I'd suggest that you try to incorporate them in every meal, or at least in lunch and dinner. Then good fats. So healthy fats are vital to build your cells and your hormones, and they assist your immune system. They provide a dense source of energy, and some fats carry fat-soluble vitamins like vitamins A and D and E, which are not found in other foods. So healthy fats, or good sources of fat, are avocado, olives and coconut, coconut oil, some butter if you don't have a dairy allergy, lard, chicken and goose fat, fish fats, nuts and seeds contain good sources of fats as well. Many nutritionists suggest that you should try and focus on foods which contain omega-3 fatty acids, such as fish, fish oil, and also things like egg yolks. And they say that the omega-3s are more important than omega-6s, which are found more in plant-based fats like avocados and nuts and seeds. So this excludes all man-made fats, including sort of margarine and things like sunflower oil or sunflower spread. But extra virgin olive oil is a good one to include. In particular, there's a lot of, there is research which links saturated fat to cardiovascular disease, but there are other nutritionists who deny that there's a causation between saturated fat and cardiovascular disease. Now, I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm not going to talk about that, but what I can say is that a lot of eczema sufferers benefit from eating saturated fats, and they often don't seem to trigger eczema, or at least in the research that I've done. And so a good way of getting saturated fats in your diet is obviously eating fatty animal protein, animal flesh. So steaks, fatty steaks, or fatty fish like sardines or mackerel are all good sources of some saturated fat, together with things like butter and fresh coconut. Nuts and seeds I already mentioned, and they tend to be highly nutritious and have lots of vitamins and minerals. However, a lot of eczema sufferers are allergic to them, so you want to be careful with them, and definitely, don't include them as a cornerstone until you know whether or not you're allergic to them. And moving on, animal protein. So our bodies need protein for every cell to function normally and to repair. Enzymes in our body are needed to create energy, maintain normal digestion, and create hormones. And the principal component of enzymes is protein. So it's important that we get enough protein, and good quality protein can come from a number of sources, including meat, fish, poultry, nuts and seeds, and arguably some grains and legumes, although not as much protein is available in the latter two. So in particular, animal proteins from liver, oily fish, lamb and egg yolks are very nutritious, and by which I mean they carry a lot of vitamins and minerals. And fish, as well, as already mentioned, is a good source of omega-3 fatty acid, and in particular the two acids within omega-3, the omega-3 spectrum, are called EPA and DHA, and they're not available in many foods but are available in high quantities in egg yolks and oily fish. Studies show that people who eat the most oily fish have a lower risk of many diseases, including heart disease, dementia and depression. And there also have been studies which link the benefits of cod liver oil to improvement in eczema patients' conditions. So I recommend that you, providing you're not strongly allergic to it, try to incorporate some animal protein, particularly oily fish, into your diet. And then finally, fruits and root vegetables. So these foods are also fairly high in vitamins and minerals, but I mean not as high as the other foods that I've just mentioned, but they're still fairly good. They tend to digest well. They have a lower glycemic index than many other carbohydrates, such as products derived from refined wheat products like pasta or pizza bases, or white bread, for example. And many eczema sufferers benefit by making their only source of carbohydrate, or their main source, fruits and root vegetables. Some also are fine with legumes like kidney beans, chickpeas, lentils, peas, for example. So fruits, fruits vary in their glycemic index, so eczema sufferers often have problems with foods that have a high glycemic index for whatever reason, and for that reason it's better to limit your consumption of fruits to those with a lower glycemic index. So those include things like green apples, pears, and in particular berries. Berries tend to have a low glycemic index, but also have a lot of nutrition. So the more tropical fruits like watermelons and pineapples, generally it's better to eat those in moderation, although some people are absolutely fine with fruit, don't have a problem with it, and can eat as much as they like. So it varies from individual to individual. Some people benefit from cutting out carbs almost completely and doing a sort of a high-fat, what's known as a ketogenic diet. But this is just to give you ideas about where you can go if you do decide to change your diet plan. So that's a basic overview. So in summary, green vegetables, good sources of fats, some animal proteins, and fruits and root vegetables. And that is essentially what is the cornerstone of what's known as the paleo-primal diet. So I'm not an expert on it, and you can look into it, but it seems to be a diet which eliminates the more modern kind of preserved or refined nasties from our diet, and is a whole food, kind of wholesome approach to eating. And a lot of people tend to benefit from it, have benefited from it, not just eczema sufferers, but many nutritionists also support it as obviously a highly nutritious and healthy way to eat. So if you can try and make that the basis of your diet and eliminate other foods, you should hopefully experience a reduction in your symptoms, a reduction in itching, less inflammation, less rashes. One way of testing to see whether or not you're getting adequate nutrition is to sign up to a website called Chronometer. And on Chronometer you can basically enter what you've eaten each day, and then a basic overview of the nutritional value of each of the foods that you've eaten. It comes out on the screen on Chronometer, and it gives you a basic understanding of what targets for various vitamins, minerals, types of fats, carbs, proteins you've hit in the day, and what you might be lacking. So it can be eye-opening if you use it for the first time, and what you can do is use it, see where you're deficient, adjust your diet, and then maintain that for a couple of weeks. Once you're confident that you've adjusted your diet to the point where you're hitting all of the micro and macronutrient targets, meaning macronutrients being proteins, fats and carbs, and then micronutrients being vitamins and minerals. Once you're confident you're hitting all of those, then you can, stop using it if it's inconvenient. But it's good to check, really, to see, how you're doing and whether or not you could do better. So yeah, that's a basic overview. I hope that's helpful. Just to give you a meal example of what you can do with this basic diet plan. For example, in the morning you could have a smoothie, so you could get a blender, get some dark green veggies like some spinach or some kale, put them in with some water and maybe some coconut milk, half a cup of coconut milk or something, crack a raw egg in, and maybe add some hemp protein or a piece of fruit like an apple or some berries, and that's a highly nutritious start, which shouldn't contain anything that triggers your eczema, unless you've got an egg allergy or something like that. But work with it and see work with the elimination diet and see what works, what doesn't. And for lunch, you could have something like lettuce or some sort of green vegetable with some sardines, maybe 90 or 100 grams of sardines, an avocado and some sweet potato. Dress it with some butter or some olive oil and some salt, some lemon. So fairly simple, but very nutritious foods, and all kind of in their whole form. And throughout the day, if you have a snack, you could make some homemade soup or something and drink that, or some fruit or something like that. Remembering that the lower glycemic fruits are often better. And then for dinner, have something like lamb, or if you don't want to eat so much animal protein, you could have something like a nut butter or a nut roast, something like that, with broccoli, some cooked egg yolks, and some carrots or some peas or something like that. And in some other videos, I'll go into more detail in terms of how your diet plan could differ from what I've just suggested in terms of the macronutrient ratio, so the ratios of carbohydrates or of proteins or of fats, to suit your particular allergies, your sensitivities and your body type. Different people seem to benefit from different diets. So I'll go into that in another video. If I've got anything totally wrong, let me know. If I've missed something, please let me know and I'll try and include it in another video. If you've got any questions or any comments or anything that you'd like to share about changes to your diet which might have helped you or others, I'd be pleased to hear from you. And thanks for watching. Hopefully see you in the next video.